The morning sun cast long shadows across Green Valley Cemetery as mourners gathered around the fresh grave. Jake Morrison lay buried beneath 6 feet of dark earth, his military flag folded tight in his daughter's trembling hands. The old soldier had lived 78 good years, but death came for everyone in the end. Lisa Morrison Clark stood beside the grave, tears rolling down her cheeks. Her father had been her hero, a strong man who never backed down from a fight. Now he was gone, and she felt lost without his steady presence in her life. But someone else missed Jake even more. Rex, the big German shepherd, sat perfectly still beside the grave. His brown eyes never left the spot where his master now rested. The dog had been Jake's constant companion for 8 years, ever since Jake found him as a lost puppy on a rainy night. They had been inseparable from that moment on. The pastor finished his final prayer and people began to walk away. Some stopped to hug Lisa and offer their condolences. Others shook hands with Jake's old military friends who had come to pay their respects. But Rex did not move. He stayed right where he was as if he was standing guard. "Come on, Rex," Lisa said softly, kneeling beside the dog. "Dad is gone now. You need to come home with me." Rex looked at her with sad eyes but did not budge. He turned his attention back to the grave and let out a low whine. Lisa tried to pull gently on his collar, but the dog planted his feet firmly in the grass. "He's just confused," said Pastor Williams, placing a kind hand on Lisa's shoulder. "Dogs don't understand death the way we do. Give him some time." Lisa nodded and tried once more to coax Rex away from the grave. The dog refused to move. Finally, she gave up and walked to her car, hoping Rex would follow. But when she looked back, the faithful dog was still sitting in the same spot, watching, over his master's final resting place. That night, Lisa could not sleep. She kept thinking about Rex all alone in the cemetery. At 3 a.m, she drove back to check on him. Her headlights found the German shepherd exactly where she had left him, still sitting beside Jake's grave. She brought him a bowl of water and some food, but Rex barely touched either. "You can't stay here forever," she whispered to him. "Dad wouldn't want you to." But Rex had made up his mind. This was where he belonged now. The next morning, Tony Martinez arrived at the cemetery for his daily rounds. Tony had worked as the groundskeeper for 15 years and had seen many sad things in his time, but he had never seen anything quite like this. The big German shepherd was still there, keeping his lonely vigil. Tony tried to approach Rex with a friendly voice and outstretched hand. The dog looked at him but showed no signs of aggression. Still, Rex made it clear he would not be moved from his spot. "Okay, boy," Tony said quietly. "I understand. You loved him too." Throughout the day, other visitors to the cemetery stopped to look at the loyal dog. Some brought him food and water. Others just stood and watched, amazed by such devotion. Word began to spread around town about the faithful companion who would not leave his master's side. Lisa returned that evening with a blanket and more food. She also brought her husband, Mark, and their 2 young children. 8-year-old Emma ran toward Rex with open arms, but the dog barely acknowledged her presence. His focus remained entirely on the grave. "Maybe we should call animal control," Mark suggested. "This isn't healthy for him." "No," Lisa said firmly. "Rex has the right to grieve too. If this is where he wants to be, then this is where he should stay." By the 3rd day, Rex had become something of a local celebrity. People drove from neighboring towns just to see the dog who would not abandon his post. The local newspaper sent a reporter to write a story about the remarkable show of loyalty. But that night, something changed. Tony was making his final rounds, before heading home when he heard a strange sound coming from Jake Morrison's grave. It was a scraping, digging sound that made his blood run cold. Someone was disturbing a grave, which was not only disrespectful but also illegal. He grabbed his flashlight and hurried toward the sound. What he found there made him stop in his tracks. It was Rex, digging frantically at the fresh earth that covered his master's coffin. The dog's paws were muddy and he was breathing hard from the effort. "Hey! Stop that!" Tony shouted, running forward. Rex looked up at him and growled, a deep warning sound that made Tony take a step back. The dog's eyes gleamed in the flashlight beam, and there was something wild and desperate about his behavior. This was not the calm, grieving pet that had been sitting peacefully for 3 days. This was an animal on a mission. Tony pulled out his cell phone and called Lisa. She answered on the second ring, her voice thick with sleep. "Tony? What's wrong? You need to get down here right now," Tony said, never taking his eyes off the digging dog. "Rex is tearing up your father's grave." Lisa arrived 20 minutes later, still in her pajamas. She could not believe what she saw. Rex had dug a hole almost 3 feet deep, and the top of Jake's wooden coffin was now visible in the moonlight. The dog was still digging, throwing dirt behind him with powerful strokes of his front paws. "Rex, no!" Lisa cried out. "Stop it right now!" The dog paused and looked at her, dirt covering his muzzle and paws. For a moment his eyes seemed almost human, filled with an intelligence that went beyond normal animal instinct. Then he turned, back to his work, digging even faster than before. Lisa tried to grab his collar, but Rex snapped at her hand. He had never shown aggression toward her before, and the shock of it made her stumble backward. "We have to stop him," Tony said. "This is desecration of a gravesite." But as they watched, Rex suddenly stopped digging. He stood perfectly still in the hole he had created, his head tilted to one side as if he was listening to something only he could hear. Then he began to paw gently at something near the head of the coffin. Lisa leaned forward with Tony's flashlight and gasped. There, glinting in the beam of light, was something metallic buried in the earth. It was not part of the coffin or any burial equipment she recognized. It was something else entirely, something that definitely did not belong in her father's grave. Lisa stared at the strange metallic object half buried in the dirt near her father's coffin. In the flashlight beam, it looked like nothing she had ever seen before. The metal had an odd blue-green color, and its surface was covered with patterns that seemed to move and shift when she looked at them directly. "What is that thing?" Tony whispered, leaning closer to get a better look. Rex had stopped digging completely now. The big dog sat in the hole he had created, looking down at the mysterious object with an expression that seemed almost reverent. His tail wagged slowly as if he had found exactly what he was looking for. Lisa pulled out her phone and took several pictures of the object. Even through the camera lens, the patterns on its surface seemed to dance and flow like liquid mercury. She had never seen anything like it, and she was sure it had not been buried with her father. "We need to call someone," she said, but she was not sure who. The police? The funeral home? This was definitely not a normal situation. "My friend Amanda might know what this is," Lisa said after a moment. "She works at the university. She studies old artifacts and things like that." Tony nodded. "Good idea, but first we should cover this back up. We can't leave a grave open like this." They tried to approach the hole, but Rex would not let them near the object. Every time they got close, the dog would growl and position himself protectively over the strange metal thing. It was clear that Rex considered himself its guardian. "Okay, boy," Lisa said gently. "We won't take it away, but we need to call someone who can help us understand what it is." Rex seemed to understand her words. He relaxed slightly, but remained in the hole, keeping watch over his mysterious treasure. Lisa called her friend Amanda Foster at 6 in the morning. Amanda was a professor of archaeology at the local university, and if anyone could identify the strange object, it would be her. "Lisa, is everything okay?" Amanda's voice was thick with sleep. "I'm sorry to wake you so early, but something really weird has happened at Dad's grave. Can you come to the cemetery? I need your help with something I can't explain over the phone." Amanda arrived an hour later, carrying a bag full of tools and equipment. She was a small woman with gray hair pulled back in a ponytail, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. Lisa had known her since college, and Amanda had always been fascinated by mysteries and unexplained phenomena. "Show me what you found," Amanda said without wasting time on small talk. Lisa led her to the grave where Rex still sat guard over the strange object. When Amanda saw it, her eyes went wide with amazement. "My goodness," she breathed. I've never seen anything quite like this. She knelt at the edge of the hole and studied the object carefully. Rex watched her but did not growl or show any signs of aggression. It was as if the dog approved of Amanda's presence. The metal composition is unlike anything I know, Amanda said, pulling out a small device that looked like a scanner. And these patterns, they're not random. They look almost like some kind of writing or code. She took detailed photographs from every angle and made careful measurements. The object was roughly the size of a football, with smooth curves and the strange flowing patterns covering its entire surface. Where could this have come from? Lisa asked. And why was Rex so determined to dig it up? Those are excellent questions, Amanda replied. But first, I think we should contact my colleague, Kevin Brooks. He specializes in unusual materials. Lisa raised an eyebrow. Unusual how? Amanda hesitated before answering. Kevin studies things that don't fit into normal categories, materials that shouldn't exist according to our current understanding of science. If this object is what I think it might be, we're going to need his expertise. While they waited for Kevin to arrive, Amanda continued her examination of the object. She noticed that it seemed to be getting warmer as the morning sun rose higher in the sky. The patterns on its surface also appeared to be moving more rapidly, though she could not be sure if this was real or just an optical illusion. Rex had not moved from his position in the hole. The dog seemed completely focused on the object, as if he was waiting for something to happen. Occasionally, he would tilt his head to one side, as if listening to a sound that only he could hear. Kevin Brooks arrived at the cemetery in a van filled with scientific equipment. He was a tall, thin man with wild hair and intense eyes behind thick glasses. Lisa had met him once before at a university function, and she remembered thinking he was a bit odd but very smart. Amanda called me about your discovery, Kevin said, unpacking his equipment. She thinks it might be extraordinary. He set up several devices around the grave, including what looked like a small radar dish and some kind of scanning equipment. When he turned on his machines, they immediately started beeping and flashing with activity. Fascinating, Kevin muttered, reading the data on his screens. The electromagnetic signature is completely unlike anything in our periodic table, and the energy readings on this thing is definitely active. As if responding to his words, the object suddenly began to glow with a soft blue light. The patterns on its surface started moving faster, swirling and dancing like living things. Rex let out a soft whine and moved closer to the object, but he did not seem afraid. It's reacting to our presence, Amanda said in amazement. Or maybe to our equipment. The glow grew brighter, and a low humming sound filled the air. Lisa felt a strange tingling sensation, as if the air around them was charged with electricity. Tony took a step back, clearly nervous about what was happening. Then, without warning, the object projected a beam of light straight up into the morning sky. The beam was thin and precise like a laser, but it was filled with moving images and symbols that none of them could understand. It's some kind of projection, Kevin said, his voice filled with excitement. Like a hologram, but far more advanced than anything we can create. The images in the beam of light moved and changed rapidly. There were pictures of stars and planets, strange creatures that looked nothing like Earth animals, and symbols that seemed to be some kind of writing or mathematical formulas. Rex stood up in the hole and barked once, a sharp sound that seemed to be directed at the projection. Amazingly, the images in the beam of light changed in response to his bark, shifting to show new pictures and symbols. The dog is communicating with it, Amanda whispered in disbelief. Somehow, Rex understands what this thing is trying to show us. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine as she remembered her father's strange behavior in his final months. Jake had often talked about visitors in the night and had insisted that Rex was protecting something important. At the time, she had thought he was just getting confused in his old age. Now she was beginning to wonder if her father had known more than he had let on. The projection continued for several minutes, showing image after image of things that were clearly not from Earth. Then as suddenly as it had started, the light faded and the object returned to its normal blue-green glow. Rex sat back down and looked at the three humans as if expecting them to understand what they had just witnessed. "We need to study this more carefully," Kevin said, his hands shaking with excitement. "This could be the most important discovery in human history. But first, they had to figure out how to move the object without upsetting Rex, who clearly considered himself its protector. And they had to do it without attracting too much attention from the outside world." Lisa had a feeling that their quiet little town was about to become the center of something much bigger than any of them could imagine. 3 days later, Kevin's laboratory at the university looked like something from a science fiction movie. The strange object sat on a special table surrounded by computers, scanners, and other equipment that beeped and hummed constantly. Rex lay on a blanket nearby, never taking his eyes off his precious treasure. Amanda had called in another expert to help decode the mysterious projections. Dr. Sarah Williams was a language specialist who had spent her career studying ancient writings and unknown symbols. She had worked on everything from Egyptian hieroglyphs to Native American pictographs, but nothing had prepared her for this. "The symbols follow a mathematical pattern," Sarah explained to Lisa and the others. "But it's unlike any language structure I've ever seen. It's almost like the symbols themselves contain multiple layers of meaning." Kevin nodded as he studied the data on his computer screens. "The object has projected the same sequence of images 12 times now. It's definitely trying to communicate something specific." Lisa watched Rex, who seemed to understand every word they were saying. The dog's intelligence had always impressed her father, but lately Rex seemed almost human in his responses. He would tilt his head when they talked about certain topics, and sometimes he would bark or whine as if trying to add his own thoughts to the conversation. "Show us the projection again," Amanda said. "Maybe we missed something important." Kevin activated the scanning equipment and the object responded immediately. The blue light shot upward, filled with moving images and symbols. This time Sarah was ready with her cameras and recording equipment. The first images showed what looked like a star map. Points of light moved across the projection, some clustering together while others traveled in straight lines across empty space. "Those are definitely star systems," Kevin said. "And look at the movement patterns. Some of those lights are moving faster than others, almost like they're traveling between the stars." The next set of images showed creatures that were clearly not from Earth. They were tall and thin, with large eyes and long arms. Their skin seemed to shimmer with the same blue-green color as the object itself. "Aliens," Lisa whispered. "Dad always said he believed there was life on other planets." Rex barked once when the alien images appeared, and the projection changed to show one of the creatures lying on what looked like a bed or medical table. The creature appeared to be injured or sick, with dark patches covering parts of its shimmering skin. "It's telling us a story," Sarah realized. "These aren't just random images, they're connected like chapters in a book." The projection continued to show the sick alien creature being cared for by others of its kind. But then the images turned darker. New creatures appeared in the projection, larger and more aggressive-looking. They had rough, gray skin and multiple arms that ended in sharp claws. "Those look like the bad guys," Amanda observed. The projection showed the aggressive creatures attacking the peaceful blue-green aliens. There were scenes of destruction, with buildings falling and the gentle aliens fleeing in panic. Many of them were loaded onto ships that looked like silver teardrops. "They're refugees," Lisa said, understanding beginning to dawn on her. The peaceful aliens were running away from the aggressive ones. Rex whined softly and pawed at the air, as if trying to touch the images in the projection. The scene changed to show one of the silver ships approaching what was clearly meant to be Earth. Lisa could see the familiar shape of the continents and oceans. "One of them came here," Kevin said in amazement. "An alien refugee ship reached Earth." The projection showed the ship landing in a wooded area. The location looked familiar to Lisa, and with a start, she realized it was the forest behind her. Father's property. She had played in those woods as a child. The images showed the peaceful alien emerging from the crashed ship. It was clearly hurt and struggling to walk. Then a human figure appeared in the projection, approaching the alien. Carefully, Lisa gasped when she recognized the human. Even rendered in the strange light of the projection, she could tell it was her father. Jake Morrison had found the crashed alien in the woods behind his house. "Dad knew," she whispered. "He knew all along." The projection continued the story. It showed Jake helping the injured alien, bringing it food and water and even providing medical care as best he could. The alien grew stronger over time, but it was clear that it was still very sick. During its recovery, the alien taught Jake many things. The projection showed them communicating through pictures and gestures. The alien shared knowledge about the stars, about its own peaceful race called the Zephyrians, and about the aggressive species that had destroyed their homeworld. "Zephyrians," Sarah repeated, making notes. "That must be what they call themselves." The projection showed the alien, giving Jake the strange object they had found in his grave. There were images of the alien explaining something important to Jake, pointing at the object and then at the sky. Rex stood up and barked 3 times in rapid succession. The projection immediately shifted to show new images that made everyone in the lab go silent with fear. The aggressive gray aliens were shown building massive ships much larger than the small refugee vessels. These ships were clearly designed for war with weapon systems and armor plating, and they were heading directly toward a small blue planet that could only be Earth. "It's a warning," Amanda said, her voice barely above a whisper. The alien was warning Dad about an invasion. The projection showed numbers and symbols that Sarah quickly began to translate. When she figured out their meaning, her face went pale. "According to this, the invasion fleet will arrive in approximately 6 months, she said. The alien calculated when they would reach Earth based on their known travel speed. Lisa felt sick to her stomach. "When did Dad find the alien? How long ago did this happen?" Kevin checked his notes and did some quick calculations. "Based on what you told us about your father's behavior changing, I'd guess it was about 2 years ago. Which means the invasion fleet is already close," Amanda finished. "Very close." The projection showed one final set of images. The dying alien was giving Jake detailed instructions about the object and about Rex. The dog was shown receiving some kind of treatment or enhancement from the alien, which explained his unusual intelligence and his determination to guard the object. The alien made Rex smarter, Lisa realized. It gave him the knowledge he needed to make sure the warning would be found when the time was right. Rex wagged his tail and barked once as if confirming her words. The projection faded, and the object returned to its normal glow. But now everyone in the room understood the terrible significance of what they had discovered. "We have to tell someone," Lisa said. "The government, the military, somebody who can do something about this." Kevin shook his head. "Who's going to believe us? We have an alien artifact and a smart dog, but no concrete proof that an invasion is coming." "We have to try," Amanda insisted. "If this is real, if there really is an alien fleet heading toward Earth, then humanity needs to prepare." Sarah was still studying her translations when she made another disturbing discovery. "There's more," she said quietly. "The final symbols indicate that the invasion fleet isn't just coming to conquer Earth. They're coming to eliminate all life on the planet. Complete extinction." Lisa looked at Rex, who was staring back at her with those intelligent brown eyes. Her father had trusted this dog with the most important secret in human history. Now it was up to them to make sure that secret didn't die with them. "Dad left us notes," Lisa said suddenly. "In his study at home. He was always writing in that old journal of his. Maybe he left us more information about what to do." As they prepared to leave the laboratory, none of them noticed the small device Kevin had left running in the background. It was designed to monitor electromagnetic signals, and it had been quietly recording unusual activity for the past hour. The readings showed that something else was responding to the alien object's transmissions. Something in space, getting closer to Earth every day. Lisa drove straight to her father's house after leaving the university. The old farmhouse had been empty since Jake's death, and she had been putting off the difficult task of going through his belongings. Now she wished she had done it sooner. Rex followed her into Jake's study, a small room filled with military medals, old photographs, and stacks of notebooks. Lisa had always known her father was a careful record keeper, but she had never realized just how detailed his notes were. She found the journal she was looking for in the bottom drawer of his desk. It was a thick, leather-bound book that Jake had been writing in for years. As she flipped through the pages, she saw entries dating back to his military service, his marriage to her mother, and Lisa's childhood. But the entries from the last 2 years were different. They were filled with detailed drawings of the alien creature, maps of the surrounding forest, and notes written in Jake's careful handwriting. October 15th, Lisa read aloud. Found the injured visitor in Sector 7 of the backwoods. Ship completely destroyed in the crash. Creature badly hurt but trying to communicate. Decided to help rather than report to authorities. Something tells me this is bigger than military protocol. Rex sat beside her chair, listening intently as she continued reading. October 22nd. Visitor is recovering slowly. Has been teaching me about its people, the Zephyrians. They are peaceful explorers who have been fleeing from something called the Devourers for many generations. The visitor's name is Kelu, and it is dying from injuries that cannot be healed. Lisa turned the page and found a detailed drawing of the alien device they had discovered in the grave. Jake had sketched it from every angle, with notes about its functions and capabilities. November 3rd. Kelu has given me a warning beacon. Says it contains vital information about the Devourers who destroyed the Zephyrian homeworld. They are coming to Earth, but not for many months. Kelu has enhanced Rex's intelligence so he can help protect the beacon when I am gone. The dog understands more than any of us realize. The entries continued for several more months, documenting Jake's growing friendship with the alien visitor and his increasing understanding of the threat facing Earth. Jake had learned about Zephyrian technology, their peaceful philosophy, and, most importantly, their knowledge of the Devourer's weaknesses. Lisa found a phone number written on one of the last pages, along with a note that said, "Call Patricia if the beacon is ever activated." Patricia Hayes had been Jake's commanding officer during his final years in the military, and she was now a general at the Pentagon. "Dad wanted me to call General Hayes," Lisa told Amanda and Kevin when they arrived at the house. He left specific instructions. Lisa dialed the number with shaking hands. It was well past normal business hours, but the call was answered immediately. General Hayes speaking. "General, this is Lisa Morrison Clark, Jake Morrison's daughter. I need to speak with you about something my father left for me." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Lisa, I was sorry to hear about your father's passing. He was a good soldier and a better man. What can I do for you? I know this will sound crazy, but I need you to come to Dad's house. There's something here you need to see. Something about visitors and a warning." Another pause, longer this time. "Visitors? Lisa, did your father ever mention Project Blue File to you?" "No, what's that?" "I'll be there in 3 hours. Don't discuss this with anyone else until I arrive." General Patricia Hayes arrived exactly 3 hours later, accompanied by 2 other military officers. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Lisa had met her several times at military functions, and she remembered Patricia as someone who didn't waste time on nonsense. But when Lisa showed her the alien device and played the holographic projection, Patricia's professional composure cracked completely. "My God," the general whispered, watching the images of the Zephyrian refugee and the approaching invasion fleet. Project Blue File was created for exactly this scenario. We've been preparing for first contact for decades, but we never expected it to happen like this. She turned to her companions, Colonel Dan Murphy and Major Lisa Chen. "Activate Protocol 7 immediately. We need to assemble the task force." "Ma'am, are you sure?" Colonel Murphy asked. "Protocol 7 hasn't been used since the Cold War." "I'm sure. We have confirmation of hostile alien contact with a verified timetable for invasion. This is exactly what Protocol 7 was designed for." Within hours, the farmhouse was transformed into a command center. Military personnel arrived with trucks full of equipment, and scientists from various government agencies were flown in to examine the alien device. Dr. Ryan Cooper, a physicist from the Defense Department, spent hours studying the Zephyrian technology. He was a quiet man who spoke in technical terms that most people couldn't understand. but his excitement was obvious. The energy principles behind this device are centuries ahead of our current science, he explained to the assembled team. If we can understand how it works, we might be able to develop defensive technologies. Maria Santos, an engineer from NASA, was equally fascinated by the alien technology. She had been working on experimental propulsion systems, and the Zephyrian device gave her ideas for entirely new approaches to space travel and energy generation. The power source alone could revolutionize our civilization, she told General Hayes. But more importantly, it might give us the tools we need to defend ourselves. Rex had become an unofficial member of the team. The enhanced dog seemed to understand the urgency of the situation, and he helped the humans interpret additional information hidden in the alien device. When the scientists had questions about the Zephyrian technology, Rex would bark or move, in ways that provided clues to the answers. Lisa discovered that she had inherited some of her father's enhanced intuition. After Jake's prolonged contact with the alien visitor, he had developed an almost supernatural ability to understand complex problems and find solutions. Lisa found herself knowing things she shouldn't know and understanding concepts that were far beyond her normal education. It's like Dad left part of himself with me, she told Amanda. I can feel what he learned from Kelu. As the team worked around the clock to understand the alien warning, they made a disturbing discovery. Jake's journal contained detailed maps, showing the locations of other Zephyrian artifacts hidden around the world. Kelu had not been the only refugee to reach Earth. There are at least 12 other sites, General Hayes announced during a briefing. And according to Jake's notes, each site is guarded by an enhanced animal that was touched by a dying Zephyrian. Rex barked once and ran to the window, looking out toward the forest. Everyone followed his gaze and saw lights moving between the trees. Not flashlights or car headlights, but the same blue-green glow that came from the alien device. Something's out there, Kevin said, reaching for his scanning equipment. The lights moved closer, and soon they could see that the sources were other animals. A hawk circled overhead, its feathers glowing with alien energy. A deer stepped out of the tree line, its antlers shimmering with the same blue-green light. Even a small rabbit hopped into the yard, its fur sparkling like starlight. They're coming. To us, Lisa realized. All the enhanced animals are gathering here. Rex ran outside to greet the other creatures, and they formed a circle around him. Each animal seemed to be carrying something, small objects that glowed with the same energy as the warning beacon. More Zephyrian technology, Dr. Cooper breathed. They're bringing us the tools we need to fight back. As the enhanced animals deposited their glowing artifacts in the yard, Maria Santos began scanning them with her equipment. Each device contained different information and capabilities. Some held weapon designs, others contained shield technology, and a few seemed to contain the plans for something much larger. It's a complete defense system, she announced. The Zephyrians didn't just leave us a warning. They left us everything. We need to protect our planet. General Hayes looked at the growing collection of alien technology and the circle of enhanced animals that had brought it. How long do we have to build these defenses? Lisa consulted her father's journal and did some quick calculations. According to Dad's notes and the alien projections, about 4 months, maybe less. Then we better get started, the general said. This is going to be the most important construction project in human history. But as the team began planning humanity's defense, none of them noticed the small probe that had been watching them from orbit. The Devourer scout ship had detected the Zephyrian energy signatures and was already transmitting its findings back to the main invasion fleet. The enemy now knew that Earth had been warned, and they were changing their plans accordingly. 4 months. That was all the time humanity had left before the Devourer fleet arrived at Earth. General Hayes had turned Jake Morrison's farm into the most secret military base in the world, and people worked there 24 hours a day to build humanity's defenses. Dr. Ryan Cooper had barely slept in weeks. His team of scientists was working desperately to understand the Zephyrian technology and turn it into weapons that humans could actually build. The alien designs were incredibly advanced, but they had to be simplified so that Earth's factories could produce them quickly. The energy shields are our biggest challenge, Ryan explained to the assembled team during one of their daily briefings. The Zephyrian technology requires materials we don't have, and power sources we can't duplicate. Maria Santos had been working on the same problem from a different angle. Her engineering team was trying to adapt human technology to work with the alien designs. It was like trying to connect a computer to a Stone Age tool, but slowly they were making progress. "We can't build their shields exactly as designed," Maria said, "but we can create something similar using our satellite network and nuclear power plants. It won't be as strong as what the Zephyrians had, but it might be enough to protect major cities." Rex had become the most important member of the team. The enhanced dog seemed to understand the alien technology better than any human, and he could somehow communicate with the other enhanced animals that continued to arrive from around the world. A week earlier, a golden eagle had flown in from Alaska carrying a device that contained advanced radar technology. 2 days later, a dolphin had surfaced off the coast of California with plans for underwater defense systems. Even stranger, a group of ravens from Canada had delivered detailed star maps showing the exact route the Devourer fleet was taking to reach Earth. "It's like they have their own communication network," Amanda observed as she watched Rex organizing the other animals. "They're coordinating efforts across the entire planet." Lisa had changed the most of anyone. Her father's enhanced intuition was growing stronger every day, and she found herself understanding complex scientific concepts that should have been impossible for someone without advanced training. Sometimes she would look at a piece of alien technology and instantly know how it was supposed to work. "The Zephyrians didn't just enhance Dad's mind," she told Kevin during one of their conversations. "They planted seeds of knowledge that were passed on to me. I think they planned for this to happen." The most amazing discovery came when Rex led a team to a hidden cave system in the mountains of Colorado. Inside the caves, they found the remains of a much larger Zephyrian ship, one that had been hidden there for decades. This ship contained manufacturing equipment that could actually produce the advanced materials needed for the alien technology. "It's a factory," Maria said in amazement as they explored the ship. "The Zephyrians left us a complete manufacturing facility." The ship's computer systems were still partially functional, and with Rex's help, they were able to activate the alien machinery. Soon the cave was filled with the hum of equipment producing materials that had never existed on Earth before. But the discovery also revealed something troubling. The ship's logs showed that the Zephyrians had been preparing for the Devourer invasion for much longer than anyone had realized. They had been placing artifacts and enhanced animals on Earth for over 50 years, waiting for the right time to reveal themselves. "They knew this day would come," General Hayes said grimly. "The question is, did they leave us enough to actually win?" As the weeks passed, humanity's defenses began to take shape. The enhanced animals led teams to locations around the world where pieces of a global shield network were being built. Each installation was hidden and protected, designed to work together as one massive defensive system. The shield generators were built into mountains, buried under oceans, and even launched into space aboard modified rockets. When activated, they would create an energy barrier around the entire planet that could deflect or absorb enemy weapons, but the shields were only part of the plan. The Zephyrians had also left designs for weapons that could damage Devourer ships. These weapons used principles of physics that human science was only beginning to understand, but with the alien manufacturing equipment, they could actually be built. Lisa found herself becoming the link between the human teams and the enhanced animals. She could sense what Rex and the others were trying to communicate, and she helped coordinate their efforts with the military construction projects. "The animals are getting nervous," she reported during one meeting. "Rex keeps looking at the sky like he's expecting something to happen soon." Dr. Cooper checked his calculations again. "According to our best estimates, the Devourer fleet shouldn't arrive for another month, but the enhanced animals might be sensing something we can't detect." That night, their questions were answered. Kevin's monitoring equipment detected massive energy signatures approaching the outer edge of the solar system. The Devourer fleet had arrived ahead of schedule, and they were moving much faster than expected. "They're not following the route shown in the star maps," Maria announced, her voice tight with worry. "They've changed course. The fleet will reach Earth in 2 weeks, not 1 month." General Hayes immediately activated emergency protocols. Military bases around the world went on high alert, and world leaders were briefed on the situation. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth was working together toward a single goal. The enhanced animals seemed to sense the approaching danger. Rex and his companions became more active, leading humans to hidden supply caches and emergency equipment that the Zephyrians had left behind. It was as if they were making final preparations for a battle they had always known would come. Lisa discovered that she could now communicate directly with the alien devices using her enhanced intuition. When she touched the original warning beacon, images flashed through her mind showing the current position of the Devourer fleet and their probable attack strategies. "They're not just coming to destroy us," she announced to the shocked team. "They're coming to harvest us. The Devourers consume not just planets, but the life force of every living thing on those planets. Earth isn't just another conquest for them. It's a feeding ground." This revelation changed everything. The human defenders realized they weren't just fighting for their civilization or even their species. They were fighting for the right of all life on Earth to continue existing. Dr. Cooper made a final check of the planetary defense systems. The shield network was as ready as it could be with the time they had. The weapon installations were armed and targeted. Every enhanced animal was in position at key strategic points around the globe. But as Lisa looked at the data showing the approaching Devourer fleet, she felt a chill of fear. There were hundreds of ships in the enemy formation, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Even with all their preparations and alien technology, the odds were not in their favor. Rex seemed to sense her doubt. The loyal dog walked over to her and rested his head against her leg, looking up at her with those intelligent brown eyes. In that moment, Lisa felt a surge of confidence that didn't come from her own mind. It was her father's voice, speaking through the enhanced connection she shared with Rex and the other animals. Jake Morrison had left one final message for his daughter, hidden in the deepest levels of the alien technology. "Trust in the bonds between all living things." The voice whispered in her mind. "The Zephyrians didn't just give us weapons and shields. They gave us something the Devourers can never understand: the power of unity between species." Lisa smiled and scratched Rex behind the ears. "You're right, Dad. We're not alone in this fight." As the Devourer fleet continued its approach toward Earth, every enhanced animal on the planet turned their glowing eyes toward the sky. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity had allies they were only just beginning to understand. The morning sky was clear and blue when the first Devourer ships appeared above Earth. They came out of nowhere, their massive gray hulls blocking out the sun as they took positions around the planet. Each ship was the size of a small city, covered in weapon ports and energy collectors designed to drain the life from entire worlds. Lisa stood in the command center that had been built beneath Jake's farm, watching the invasion begin on dozens of screens. Rex sat beside her, his enhanced eyes focused on displays showing enemy ship movements. All around the world, enhanced animals were in position at defense installations, ready to coordinate humanity's response. "They're not attacking yet, General," Hayes observed. "They're just waiting." Dr. Cooper was monitoring energy readings from the alien ships. "They're scanning the planet, looking for signs of advanced technology or organized resistance." "Let them look," Maria Santos said from her station. "They won't find our installations until we want them to." The Zephyrian technology had been designed specifically to hide from Devourer sensors. Every shield generator, weapon platform, and command center was invisible to the enemy's detection systems. It was humanity's one advantage in a fight against a superior force. Then the Devourers began their harvest. Beams of sickly yellow light shot down from the alien ships, targeting major cities around the world. But instead of destroying buildings, the beams began draining the life energy from everything they touched. Plants withered and died instantly. Animals collapsed where they stood. Even humans caught in the beams aged rapidly, their life force being pulled into the hungry ships above. "Activate the planetary shields," General Hayes commanded. Lisa placed her hand on the control panel that was connected to Jake's original warning device. Through her enhanced connection, She could feel every shield generator around the world, powering up simultaneously. The invisible network of Zephyrian technology came alive, creating a barrier of pure energy around the entire planet. The Devourer harvest beams struck the shields and bounced harmlessly back into space. The alien ships immediately began firing their weapons, trying to break through the protective barrier. Explosions of light filled the sky as the two technologies clashed. "Shields are holding," Ryan reported, "but they won't last forever. We need to go on the offensive." Rex barked once and ran to a special console that had been built just for him. Using his enhanced paws, he activated a communication system that connected him to every enhanced animal on Earth. Lisa could feel the network coming alive as thousands of animals coordinated their actions across the globe. The first wave of human weapons fired from hidden positions around the world. Missiles armed with Zephyrian energy cores streaked toward the alien ships, their trajectories guided by enhanced animals who could sense the enemy's weak points. Several Devourer vessels were hit and began burning in the upper atmosphere. But there were too many enemy ships, and they were adapting to human tactics faster than expected. "We're barely scratching them," Maria said as more Devourer reinforcements appeared in the sky. "We need something bigger." Lisa closed her eyes and reached deeper into her connection with the alien technology. Through Rex and the other enhanced animals, she could feel something massive hidden beneath the Earth's surface. The Zephyrians had left one final surprise, something they had never mentioned in their warnings or instructions. "There's something under the ocean," she announced. "Something big." The screens in the command center switched to underwater cameras, showing the ocean floor near the mid-Atlantic ridge. As they watched, a huge structure began rising from the seafloor. It was a Zephyrian ship, but unlike any they had seen before. This one was enormous, easily the size of Manhattan, and it had been waiting on the ocean bottom for decades. "A battleship," Kevin breathed. "They left us a warship." The massive Zephyrian vessel broke the surface and rose into the sky, water streaming from its hull. Its surface was covered with weapon ports and energy projectors that made the human defense systems look like toys by comparison. Rex and the other enhanced animals suddenly became more active, their eyes glowing brighter as they established a connection with the rising ship. Lisa felt her consciousness expand as she became part of the ship's control system, her enhanced intuition linking her directly to the alien vessel's computer. Through this connection, she could see the battle from the ship's perspective. The Devourer fleet was massive, but the Zephyrian battleship had been designed specifically to fight them. Every weapon system, every defensive measure had been created by a species that had been fighting the Devourers for generations. "I can control it," Lisa said, her voice sounding strange even to herself. "Through Rex and the animals, I can pilot the ship." The Zephyrian battleship opened fire with weapons that turned space itself into a weapon. Beams of pure energy, more advanced than anything the Devourers possessed, lanced out and began systematically destroying the enemy fleet. Ship after ship exploded in brilliant flashes of light. But the Devourers were not defenseless. They concentrated their remaining forces and began a desperate assault on the Zephyrian vessel. The ancient ship's shields flared under the attack and alarms began sounding in the command center. "The ship is taking heavy damage," Lisa reported, feeling every hit as if it were striking her own body. "I don't think it can destroy the entire fleet by itself." That was when Rex did something extraordinary. The enhanced dog let out a howl that was heard by every animal on Earth, both enhanced and normal. The call went out across every species, from the smallest insects to the largest whales. And they answered. Birds took to the sky in massive flocks, their bodies glowing with Zephyrian energy as they formed living shields around human cities. Dolphins and whales in the oceans began generating sonic waves that disrupted Devourer communications. Even domestic animals like cats and dogs joined the fight, their enhanced senses helping to guide human weapons to their targets. "The entire planet is fighting back," Amanda said in amazement as reports flooded in from around the world. "Every living thing is part of the defense network." Lisa felt the power of this planetary unity flowing through her connection to the Zephyrian ship. The vessel's weapons became more accurate, its shields stronger as the life force of Earth itself supported the ancient battleship. The tide of battle began to turn. Devourer ships fell one by one as the combined might of two species, enhanced by Zephyrian technology and united by the bonds between all living things, proved stronger than the alien harvest fleet. When the last enemy ship exploded in the upper atmosphere, a cheer went up from every human settlement on Earth. But the celebration was interrupted by new signals appearing on the long-range sensors. "More ships incoming," Dr. Cooper announced. But these aren't devourers. The new arrivals were sleek silver vessels with the distinctive teardrop shape of Zephyrian ships. They had received the quantum distress signal that the ancient battleship had been broadcasting throughout the fight. The surviving Zephyrians had finally found Earth. A holographic figure appeared in the command center, tall and graceful with shimmering blue-green skin. It spoke in a musical voice that somehow everyone could understand. "People of Earth," the Zephyrian said, "we are the children of Kelu and the others who sought refuge on your world. We have come to offer our friendship and welcome you into the Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds." Lisa looked at Rex, who was wagging his tail with what looked like a smile on his canine face. The loyal dog had kept his promise to Jake Morrison. He had protected the warning, helped humanity prepare for war, and ensured that Earth would survive to join the community of peaceful species among the stars. Years later, statues of Rex would be erected in cities around the world. The first non-human to be honored as a planetary hero, the German shepherd who had saved two civilizations through simple loyalty and love. Jake Morrison's grave became a memorial site, visited by beings from dozens of worlds, all coming to pay their respects to the human soldier who had chosen compassion over protocol, and to the faithful dog who had made sure his master's final mission was completed. Earth took its place among the stars, protected by the bonds between species and guided by the wisdom that all life, no matter how different, shared the same precious spark of existence. And in a small cemetery in a quiet town, flowers bloomed year-round on a simple grave, tended by visitors from across the galaxy, who understood that sometimes the greatest heroes come in the most unexpected forms.